Breath of God, wind that blew over the sea of creation, breath that brought to life the human form made of the dust of the earth. Spirit that led Jesus through all of his days, breathe life into us now. Recreate us and fill our bodies and souls with your word of life, your song of blessing. We breathe deeply of your presence. In the secret language of the heart, speak to us. Amen.
Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light.
Jesus teaches no doctrine. He extends an invitation. He preaches no creed. He offers a relationship. He doesn't discuss theology. Instead, he practices a way of living. He offers no reward but his presence. He invites us to the great work of being souls, the great work of loving the world. He promises to be yoked with us. He offers the paradox of the labor that is rest, the yoke that is freedom, the burden that is light. His word is not an order, a threat, or a pronouncement, but a promise, an opening, a desire for us. Come to me. The burden we bear into the world at his side is not heavy. It is light itself. It is the light of God.
Life is hard, and yet Jesus says, "My yoke is easy, and my burden is light." It is hard to bear God, but it is even harder not to bear God. The pain one brings upon oneself by living outside of evident reality is a greater and longer-lasting pain than the brief pain of facing it head-on. Enlightened people invariably describe the spiritual experience of God as resting, peace, delight, and even ecstasy. If our religion has no deep joy and no inherent contentment about it, then it is not the real thing. If our religion is primarily fear of self, the world, and God, if it is primarily focused on meeting religious duties and obligations, then it is indeed a hard yoke and a heavy burden. It is hardly worthwhile. The promise from Jesus that his burden is easy and light seeks to reassure us that rigid and humorless religion is not his way, and certainly not the only way. It is God within us that loves God. So seek joy in God and peace within. Seek to rest in the good, the true, and the beautiful. It is the only resting place that also allows us to bear the darkness. Hard and soft, difficult and easy, pain and ecstasy do not eliminate one another, but actually allow each other. They bow back and forth like dancers, although it is harder to bow to pain and to failure. If you look deeply inside every success, there are already seeds and signs of limits. If you look inside every failure, there are also seeds and signs of opportunity. Who among us has not been able to eventually recognize the silver lining in the darkest of life's clouds? For some reason, we give and get our energy from dark clouds much more than silver linings. True joy is harder to access and even harder to hold on to than anger or fear. If our soul is at rest in the comforting sweetness and softness of God, we can bear the hardness of life and see through failure. If our truth does not set us free, it is not truth at all. If God cannot be rested in, God must not be much of a God. If God is not joy, then what has created the sunrise and sunset?
Joys are flowing like a river since the Comforter has come. Christ abides with us forever, making the trusting heart a home. Blessed quietness, holy quietness. What assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, Jesus speaks to me, and the billows cease to roll, bringing life and health and gladness all around. This heavenly guest banished unbelief and sadness and changed our weariness to rest. Like the rain that falls from heaven, like the sunlight from the sky, so the Spirit too is given, coming on us, coming on high. Blessed quietness, holy quietness. What assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, Jesus speaks to me, and the billows cease to roll.
Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you will learn to live freely and lightly.
Let us come to this place of rest, whether we are in crisis or in peace. If we keep breathing consciously in connection with all that surrounds us, we will know that we are connected to all of humanity, from cave dwellers to cosmonauts to the entire animal world and even the trees and the plants. As Barbara Holmes often reminds us, even the atoms we breathe are physically the same as the stardust from the Big Bang. Oneness is no longer experienced as merely a vague mystical notion, but rooted in scientific and embodied fact.
Dave Brubeck says, "One of the reasons I believe in jazz is that the oneness of humankind can come through the rhythm of your heart. It's the same any place in the world, that heartbeat. It's the first thing you hear when you're born or before you're born, and it's the last thing you hear." In the beginning was rhythm, the beating of the heart, the intake and release of breath, waking and sleeping and waking again, cycles of minutes and hours, seasons and eras. In our bones, in the beating of our heart, we carry the sacred cadence that brought us into being. Within each one of us is a rhythm that enables us to thrive when we are keeping time to it. Moment by moment, in the doing of daily life, we are either aligned with the fundamental pulse and pace by which we thrive, or we are working against it. There are times, of course, when it's not possible to keep the rhythm that our souls and bodies crave, seasons when our commitments require us to live outside our natural groove. In those times, the rhythms we have established in the past echo and reverberate through the present. If we have known the sensation of living in a rhythm that sustains us, it becomes possible to improvise when we enter into times of stress and chaos and weariness, and to find glimpses of the sacred in the press of daily life. Eddie Hilsum, who began to keep a diary after Nazi troops invaded her homeland of Holland, and who persisted with such defiance and grace in paying attention to the beating of her own heart in the midst of the horrors around her, once wrote, "Sometimes the most important thing in a whole day is the rest we take between two deep breaths, or the turning inwards in prayer for 5 short minutes." Having a sacred rhythm to our days, a way of moving in the world that aligns us with the heartbeat of God, is not the same as having an unbroken, stultifying sameness. We need an underlying rhythm to our days, some beats that help restore us and return us to our life. What questions do you carry about how you move through your days? What is the cadence that is most comfortable and life-giving for you? Are you keeping time with it right now? What helps or hinders you in living a sacred rhythm, a peace and pace that feel whole and holy, and your heart beats in time with the heartbeat of God?
Breathe. Each moment, each breath, each heartbeat, and every hour. May the rhythm of your life restore and renew you this day.
When the rhythm of the heart becomes hectic, time takes on the strain until it breaks. Then all the unattended stress falls in on the mind like an endless increasing weight. The light in the mind becomes dim. Things you could take in your stride before now become laborsome events of will. Weariness invades your spirit. Gravity begins falling inside you, dragging down every bone. The tide you never valued has gone out, and you are marooned on unsure ground. Something within you has closed down, and you cannot push yourself back to life. You have been forced to enter empty time. The desire that drove you has relinquished. There is nothing else to do now but rest and patiently learn to receive the self you have forsaken in the race of days. At first your thinking will darken and sadness take over like listless weather. The flow of unwept tears will frighten you. You have traveled too fast over false ground. Now your soul has come to take you back. Take refuge in your senses. Open up to all the small miracles you rushed through. Become inclined to watch the way of rain when it falls slow and free. Imitate the habit of twilight, taking time to open the well of color that fostered the brightness of day. Draw alongside the silence of stone until its calmness can claim you. Be excessively gentle with yourself. Stay clear of those vexed in spirit. Learn to linger around someone of ease who feels they have all the time in the world. Gradually, you will return to yourself, having learned a new respect for your heart and the joy that dwells far within slow time.
To all that is chaotic in you, let there come silence. Let there be a calming of the clamoring, a stillness of the voices that have laid their claim on you, that have made their home in you, that go with you even to the holy places, but won't let you rest, will not let you hear your life with the wholeness or feel the grace that fashioned you. Let what distracts you cease. Let what divides you cease. Let there come an end to what diminishes and demeans, and let depart all that keeps you in its cage. Let there be an opening into the quiet that lies beneath the chaos, where you will find the peace that you did not think possible, and you will see what shimmers within the storm.
been experiencing Vespers and all that jazz here in the historic Whiteman Chapel on our campus here at Scarritt Bennett. And I want to offer a few words before our final reading and music for the evening. Note that we have some amazing musicians in the house with us today. We have Kevin Madill on piano, Matt Davich on woodwinds, and John Ownby on bass. We also have our readers for this evening, Terry Price and Briley Price. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining and leading us in our time together today. And it is a gift and a grace to have many people involved in the planning of these services, pulling together texts that we might hear from various people and insights from around the world, as well as the arrangements offered by Carlton, he has friends in the house. Help me, because I've tried to pronounce his last name and I've gotten it wrong before. Can you say that out loud for me? I'll tell everybody online. Maya. This is what I get. I need to use my ears more instead of trying to read paper sometimes. So thank you all for being a part of our time together. And just to give you a little bit of insight into who we are and what we do here at Scarritt Bennett, know that we are a nonprofit conference, event, and retreat center here in the middle of Nashville, Tennessee. And we exist to create space where individuals and groups can engage each other to achieve a more just world. And you're invited to experience that in our values in radical hospitality, the eradication of racism, helping us realize prophetic justice in society, empowering women, it's a big deal here, exploring transformative educational opportunities, and being renewed through spiritual enrichment experiences and sacred rituals such as we have experienced today. If these missional values that I've listed pretty quickly and your values align, please join us, please engage with us, and come and be a part of what we're doing here at Scarritt Bennett. A handful of ways you can do that, again, joining us for Vespers and all that jazz, engaging in the text through this experience. But we also have an art gallery on our campus. And if you haven't been, you totally need to check it out. We have a new installation. It is up, technically, right now, but officially we have an opening reception on Thursday, July 13th. And the artist, Andrew Morrison, he turns 16 years old this week, and so you get to see some amazing work by this painter in his exhibit, The Existentialism of an Artist, Andrew Morrison. Now, we also have a Tuesday occasion you can jump in on. That's Tuesdays in the chapel here in Whiteman Chapel and online, so do join us for that as well. And one of the beautiful ways to engage is through conversation and connection and community over food. So if you like to eat, we have an amazing head chef on our campus. Come by Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday for lunch at 11:30 and let us eat and build connection and relationships right here on campus at Scarritt Bennett in the Susie Gray Dining Hall. You can pay ahead online or show up at the door. And note, Thursdays, fourth Thursdays, Poets Corner as well here, often in Harambe Auditorium. We got a lot of spaces for you to connect with and get to know. So come engage with us those fourth Thursdays at 7 p.m. We would love to have you. And in any case, however you may choose, we invite you to come, offering your voice, bringing yourself, your volunteerism or otherwise, in a way that you give simply as your heart wants to give, in your generosity of yourself and your gifts and graces, so long as you do so with a heart at peace and filled with joy. Thank you again, and God bless. I invite our final readers to come forward and our music for today.
Come to me, all you who are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest.
Christ, I come to you. I lay down my burden. I rest in you.
Take my yoke upon you.
I share your burden, your love for the world. I am yoked with you, your life and death and life again. I am one with you always side by side, not running ahead of you, not wandering off, twinned.
And learn from me.
Each moment I learn from you, watching your eyes, your hands, imitating your movements.
For I am gentle and humble in heart.
Yoke of gentleness lay upon me. Hold me in my anxiousness. Guide me in my impatience. Bring me along when I falter.
And you will find rest for your souls.
Rest of Christ, souls belonging, nothing required.
For my yoke is easy.
Not my worries, but compassion for the world. Not my effort, but yours in me yoked.
And my burden is light.
This burden lifts me, this light.